that really gave you that leg up and started you on that transformation? What do you think it would have been, or what was it?
Yeah, Tom, it was these three words that I would repeat to myself. And these three words are, why not me?
Because I want people to understand that no matter what happens in your childhood, no matter what happens at any point in your life, you still have a choice. You can decide to, as I say, be average. And if you're average, you just conform to the reality of what's around you and try to fit in and try to make do. Or you can challenge reality. You can create a whole new reality. And that's what you've done. But take us back to your childhood.
Imagine this, right? Yeah. Then you start to believe it instead of your heart and your head. And then when you believe it, you will achieve it. And so we started singing, see it, believe it, achieve it. Okay, do it again. See it, believe it, achieve it. I had all the kids just yelling it loud, and it was the best thing. But it's so simple. Yeah. It's not rocket science.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Breakthrough Code podcast. These podcast episodes are designed to bring you some great human beings that you can learn from and really grow from their experiences. And I've got one of my favorite people on the planet today. His name is Alan Akina. He's been a friend. I don't even know how many years it's been, but I remember when I met him because I was scheduled to speak at a conference that he was also speaking at. And I'm a few years older than him. So, and this was a long time ago. I was younger, but he was a lot younger than me. And we were backstage and I was getting ready to speak. And this is my occupation. I'm a speaker. So it was, wasn't that big of a deal. It's what I do. And I remember Alan was back there. And I think your wife, Leanne, was back there too. And you guys were getting ready to go out and speak in front of a few thousand people. And this was not, now he's great at it. He's amazing. He's so good. But back then he was probably, I don't know, maybe late 20s or early 30s or something. And I remember him being really, really nervous. And he was speaking though, because he had already achieved quite a bit of success in his profession at the time in that organization. And so he's being recognized and he was going to come out and share some of the things that he had been able to do. And since that time, I've really gotten to know him incredibly well. He's an amazing husband. He's been married. How many years now, Alan? You've been married?
This will be 26.
26 years of marriage.
Sorry, 27. I hope my wife's not listening to this.
27 years of marriage and 7 amazing children. Ranging from, I think your oldest is he 20?
25.
25 down to
5.
Down to 5, yeah. So they really spread them out. And this is his wife is an unbelievable mom. And they're an incredible family. So much love in his family. And you're going to find out as I talk with him, that wasn't probably the most natural path. I mean, he came from a family with I bet met both his parents are incredible, but a family that was divorced. He growing up didn't have a lot of money. That's probably an understatement. So did not have the means, the resources, but he took his life in a direction where he's accomplished incredible feats. He's had a company, 101 Financial, that's been on the Inc. 500 a couple times. So incredible success there, helping so many people through that company. And now he has another company called TeamUp that's we'll talk about a little bit too on this episode. That is a startup, but I think it's going to be incredibly successful and help a lot of people too. So Alan, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on.
Thanks, Tom. Good to be here. Appreciate that. And always good to be with you, my brother.
Yeah. So you're back in Hawaii. You actually live in Utah for most of the year, but you grew up in Hawaii. You're in one of your homes, beautiful home on the North Shore, and you're back for the holidays. You've got the kids coming in. But take us back to when you were growing up. So I did a little bit of an interview, but take us through your childhood, Because I want people to understand that no matter what happens in your childhood, no matter what happens at any point in your life, you still have a choice. You can decide to, as I say, be average. And if you're average, you'll just conform to the reality of what's around you and try to fit in and try to make do. Or you can challenge reality. You can create a whole new reality. And that's what you've done. But take us back to your childhood and just take us through, a little bit of because you grew up right around where you are right now, and take us back to that time and take us through kind of a little bit of what that was like, and then how you started overcoming some of the challenges that maybe your mom and dad faced, and that many people would have just inherited from their moms and dads, but you actually elevated yourself. And the cool thing is you brought your mom and dad up with you, right? You helped them out, and they're thriving and just doing amazing too. But take us back.
Yes, so I was born and raised on the island of Oahu, between the North Shore. If you've been to the North Shore of Oahu and the middle of the island, Waihua, spent a lot of my time there. And like you said, I come from great parents, great family. I have a beautiful family, love my family. We've just been through stuff, right? Life. Parents got divorced early on. My brother and I would move around quite a bit to different people's homes, and we live here. And sometimes we had to split. My brother would have to go with this family. I had to go with this family. We grew up on the free lunch program at school, free breakfast at school, food stamps. My parents never really owned a home. We were always moving. We always were renting and living with people. And so those were tough financial times growing up. And if anybody's been to Hawaii, you know how expensive it is. And so, I don't blame my parents one bit. But what I did with that experience that I had throughout my childhood is I used that as a positive thing to build this desire in me to want to know. I really wanted to know how to be successful. I really wanted to know how money worked, right? And I used those challenging times to drive me to figure this out. And you're right. And I look back at a lot of great friends, but you become part of your surroundings if you don't challenge that. If you don't challenge the surroundings, you just accept it as what it is. You become what it is and what it has always been. But if you challenge yourself, then you can do great things. And that's why I feel so blessed to have met you at the time. I think I met you right when I was just getting out of college or right in college. And so my mind was still absorbing everything. And this was all new to me, business and speaking and personal development. I never really heard about personal development, right? You just talk bad about yourself, right? Like, oh, I suck at this, like I'm crap, man. We're so poor and broke, can't even buy this, right? Like, those are the things that you grew up with. But when I met you and I saw you speak on stage and then got to meet you and then hear others speak at some of these conferences that I attended, it was like a breath of fresh air. Like, wow, I wonder if I could do that. I wonder if that'll help me. I wonder if that really helped me, or are these guys just saying that, right? And then as I heard you speak over and over again, I think it just trickled down into my mind, and it slowly started to grow. And over time, my mind changed, my mind grew, and I was able to overcome some of those challenges that I grew up with. So I'm very appreciative of all the things that I learned at the tender age of the early, mid-20s. So
Yeah. Well, what do you think the biggest thing that you learned, maybe a belief or something that you just realized that really helped you flip the switch? I mean, everyone listening, he's incredibly successful, incredibly humble. He's got, homes and properties and investments and all sorts of things, but he's not trying to make himself look better than any other human being because he doesn't believe he is, right? Like, I don't believe I'm better than any other human being either. But what was it that allowed you, if there was one thing, and maybe there's not one thing, but if there was something that was just a realization that you can pinpoint that really gave you that leg up and started you on that transformation, what do you think it would have been, or what was it?
Yeah, Tom, it was these three words that I would repeat to myself. And these three words are, why not me? Why not me? right?
Yeah.
Like, so I had all these aspirations and things. And even when I started my company, 101 Financial, right, I was very passionate about financial education,
Hmm.
personal finances, right? I put a lot of time and effort studying it. And in 2002, late 2002, my wife and I, we took our entire life savings of $20,000, right? It wasn't much, but we took that life savings and we put it into starting 101 Financial. And then we got it going. But I didn't believe in my own self when I started. I didn't believe I was worthy to be the CEO of my own company. I
Hmm.
didn't believe in myself that I was a leader. I kept saying, man, I don't even have a college degree, right? Because at the time I had dropped out of school. I
Mm.
dropped out of school after I played my fourth year of basketball. And so I was like, I don't have a college degree. In fact, the degree that I was going after was in biology. Uh, I don't have a rich family. And I kept saying these things to myself, like doubting, right, in my mind. So it was a constant battle in my mind. And over the first couple of years, I was actually trying to hire other people. I was like, hey, you come run my company. I'll be
Yeah.
the if you come be the CEO, you can run this and I'll be there to help you. But this is
Yeah.
my own company, right? I'm
Yeah.
saying
Yeah.
it to other people. And so over a couple of years, right, it was a constant battle in my mind. And I would just repeat these words, why not me?
Mm.
Why not me? And then slowly it started to grow in me, and I started to feel a little more confident as I started to imagine myself, right, seeing
Yeah.
it, imagining it, like
Yeah.
maybe I can. It was like it was still doubtful words. Maybe I could. I think I can.
Yeah.
And then it became, you know what, I can do
Yeah.
that. And once I made that switch, what happened with my company and myself is my company went on this trajectory where we made the Inc. 500
Yeah. It was
in
incredible.
7 years. 7 years from the day I started it, we made Inc. 500 in Hawaii. And we were at the time the second company from the islands to ever make it. And we did it with a very minimal budget, just hard work, effort, determination, and a passion to help others. And then on top of that was the belief, right? It
Yeah.
just came down to belief.
Yeah. And if those three words hadn't been in your mind, there would be no Inc. 500. You wouldn't be living, you wouldn't be in that beautiful home. He has another beautiful home in Utah, right? Those three words really have created something very special in you and then something, for everybody else because your company, and I go over and I speak at your conferences and I just see like lives have been changed by what you do. People that came from very similar backgrounds like you that didn't have a lot growing up and never thought they could. You've shown them through wise management of their money how they can own properties and investments and pay off debts. It's really incredible. But it started with those three words, why not me? And I think even prior to you having that change in your self-esteem, your self-confidence, when you were reaching out to people to run your company, I remember didn't you try to collaborate with a group and then they instead stole your idea, and so there was adversity along the way too, right?
It happened 3 times, right? Like three
Okay.
different times. People try to steal our idea, like bring me in, like they saw that I got something great, and then
Yeah.
and then like 6 months later, like, hey, we're getting into your business. Just want to let you know, good luck. And then just really crazy things that you just don't think people would do in business, right? And so I learned through adversity, through challenges, but those tough times made me tough, right? Iron sharpened iron.
Yeah. How what so take us through, because I mean that does hurt though when you've got this idea, you go to somebody, you want to potentially partner with them or get their help, and then they say, no, we're just gonna take your idea and go do it. I mean, that's like punch in the gut. And we all have punches in the gut, whether it's that or some other adversity. How do you get through? And by the way, having 7 kids, there's obviously lots going on. Sometimes one kid's doing great. He's got his son right now that's ranked number 3 in the world for his age group in golf, or maybe he's higher than that now. Last time I checked, he was number 3. But then, you have kids that sometimes are struggling, and then they're thriving. And so there's always adversity in life. How do you get through it? How do you said iron sharpens iron. So that's a good philosophy. But what do you think about when you face adversity? Because you've had some big ones, right? We've all had some big ones. We have some, I mean, somebody literally taking your idea, probably with more resources than what you had, can be
Yep.
a little bit scary. But by the way, you're still here and they aren't. So, you thrived and survived. But how did you get through those tough times?
I'll tell you, they are tough, and people watching, I know you probably can relate, right? It's sleepless nights. It's feeling dark and scared. Right? There's all these emotions that come in, and it doesn't just go away. Right? I just know
Mhm.
those challenging times, the emotions that you feel, especially when you're by yourself at night when it's you have time to think. You start thinking about all these negative things, and you get scared, and then it just brings on more fear
Mhm.
and more uncertainty when you start to think about those things. So, and it happened several times to me, and just in business, and there's all kind of other things we could talk about. But the way I overcame that is I just worked. I just went back to work. When I started focusing on what I do best, and my business is helping other people, and I got out of my own self and back into people, and just say, I don't care what they do. They're going to do what they're going to do. I'm going to work my butt off. I'm
Mhm.
going to control what I can control is my effort and my attitude, right? And I learned that from sports growing up.
Mhm.
Got back to work. And when I stopped worrying about myself and what other people were going to do to me, and started focusing my energy on what I can do for others and
Yeah.
how I can impact their lives and impact my business, that was part of the Inc. 500 journey, right?
Yeah.
That fueled my company to Inc. 500 status, because this was all before Inc. 500, right? When we were still vulnerable and small. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
got back to work, focus on what I do best, and other people. And then all those guys just went away. They all went away.
Yeah.
There's three distinct situations that I've been through, all gone. And some of them lasted maybe 6 months. And then one of them tried to sell something back to me.
Yeah. But the reality is we sometimes think there's scarcity. And like those three companies or situations could actually still be in business and you could still be incredibly successful. There's so much opportunity. I remember I used to think that, I had competitors in what I did, and they're competing with me. And then I'm looking like the whole world can be helped. The whole world needs help. It's not like if someone else is really successful, I can't be successful. And so I got rid of feeling jealous. And that was one of my emotions growing up, because I grew up without much either. And I was like, around people that had money, and I was so jealous of them. Like, man, I wish I had that, or, I had a house like that, or whatever. And the reality is, there really is no need for jealousy. Like, they can have that and you can have whatever you want.
Yeah.
There's so much here. And that's a lot of what you teach, because you have these people that have never experienced true wealth. Their families have been, generation after generation, just living, getting by. And now you're teaching them that they can be wealthy and it doesn't hurt anyone else when they become wealthy. As a matter of fact, it helps everybody else. Like, you becoming wealthy didn't hurt anybody. It raised the level that everyone in your orbit now is able to play at, because they see you. I remember one time though, when you'd already built this house in Hawaii, but you had bought the property in Utah, and you're building a beautiful, or you were thinking about building this big beautiful house, and I think you were a little hesitant. And I'm like, dude, you got to do it. You got to go big, right? And
Yeah.
you're worried about how other people might think about it. And I said, yeah, they will think about it, and they'll think, well, I want something like that. Maybe I can do that, right? Remember that conversation we had way back when? I
I
said, don't
remember
be
you told me
ashamed of
that.
it. Like, welcome it, like invite it in. Like, you've earned this. This is what life does, how it rewards you. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, even with the mindset that I had developed, I still needed to grow it further. And you pushed me because we've already done well. We have a house here in Hawaii on 17 acres, beautiful Hawaiian plantation style
Mhm.
home. And then you buy this lot, this half-acre lot in Utah. I'm like, well, this should we go big? Like again, the doubts came back, and you
Yeah.
pushed me, and we ended up building almost a 9,000 square foot house
Yeah.
in Utah with our own pool, right? I was thinking, man,
Yeah.
I gotta I got a pool. And I was like, back when I was growing up as a teenager, we used to sneak into pools, like jump over at the park, or jump over the wall
Yeah.
and get in. And,
Yeah.
fortunately I never got caught, but those are the things that we did back in the day. Now you have a pool in your house, like your own house. So it's just
Yeah.
crazy what can happen.
Yeah. And now your kids are huge thinkers. Like, you've got one at Harvard, one at NYU. Like, kids are, BYU, kids are doing incredible, still the young ones. But your level of thinking now has certainly raised theirs. And who knows what's going to happen to the generations beyond you because you decided to make a choice. Why not me? Incredible, incredible. Now, the other thing you mentioned too, when you said getting back to work, you said because work for you is not just like other people think about work. It's like, okay, I got to do some emails, I got to make some phone calls, I got to write some whatever letters, things like that. You really do focus on, and it comes from your heart, helping people. And that's what your company was built around. And that kind of work is energizing. I mean, it's still hard, but it's energizing when you actually feel like in whatever your profession is that you're helping people. That's what when I first got into the work I did, I came from being a financial professional, with a Wall Street firm, and then coming out and helping Tony Robbins build his company, running sales and marketing for him. But I just remember, like, after one of the events we did, just feeling so good because you saw people change and shift and think bigger than they've ever thought before. And I'm like, man, I want to do this the rest of my life because I felt like I was helping people. Now, you can help people in anything you do if you have that intention. You've taken a financial education company with 101, and now with TeamUp, which is a really unique thing that we'll talk about in a little bit. But the genesis of it, the heart of it, is finding ways to help people. And just talk about that. Like, how does that drive you, and why is it so important to you to have that as the ethos for your companies?
Yeah, so I don't feel like I'm working when I do what I do. As
Yeah.
I love it so much. I get so much fulfillment out of it because it's something that changed my life, right? Learning about money, getting that financial education that I had basically had to create for myself to learn, and then passing that on to others is just an incredible feeling. I love it. I love to teach. I love to empower other families and see those problems get solved in their life. And so um that's how I actually overcame some of those challenges, just focusing on other people. And then I'm looking at them and they have some challenges. And a good friend of mine, her name's Andrea, she told me once, she said, bro, if this is all the problems that you have a pretty dang good life, because other people are struggling, right? And I sat back and I'm like, you're right, because I caught myself complaining about something, and something bad happened to my family and this, and like, why
Mhm.
why is it happening, right? Like, it's like, bro, if that's the worst that's happened to you, you shouldn't complain at all. You have a very blessed life. And I said, absolutely, and I appreciated that. So always keeping yourself in check, and then just going out there and solving problems. That's what I love to do, right? Especially in the financial world. So
Yeah.
um, that's my happy place.
Yeah. Yeah. And now you've not only helped people, you're now helping people help other people through 101. What are some of the cornerstones of 101 that everyone listening right now could benefit from hearing? And then how do they find out more about 101 too? So give us some of the cornerstones, like, because there's some people listening that are doing very well financially that could do even better, and there's some that might be struggling. What are a couple key ideas that you think would be helpful for everybody, and then how can they access more if they would like to from 101 Financial?
Yeah, a couple things. So at 101, we teach people what they should have learned in school that they didn't when it
Yeah.
comes to managing money, right? We
Yeah.
all know there's a huge lack of financial education. So that's the gap we fill. We don't do investments, right? We're not here to invest money in the stock market or these different properties or things of that sort, but we're here to help people with cash flow, managing cash flow, which is budgets, projections, right? What do I do with my paycheck that can make the biggest impact for me? And that's what people don't think about, right? They don't think about the paycheck. The paycheck is just direct deposit into my checking account. I pay my bills and I invest what's left over. We took it a step further and said, what can we do with that paycheck that will give you the biggest impact? And in our humble opinion, my humble opinion, the greatest asset that a working class family has is their ability to bring home a paycheck. And people say, well, Alan, what about your house? Your house is a great asset, not taking anything away from that. But your greatest asset is your ability to bring home a paycheck. And what happens of that is two other entities use that before you do. Number one, the government, they whack off whatever 30% before you get it, right, in taxes. And then the other entity that uses the paycheck before you get it is the banks through direct deposit, right?
Mhm.
Banks receive your money, direct deposit. Then every night they take the funds that are in your checking account and they invest it. They're
Mhm.
invested in making interest, they're earning interest while we get paid nothing. So we like to teach people some advanced strategies of, look, hey, let's turn the power of your paycheck into a payment. So we in essence teach people to take their entire paycheck and apply that against the balance on their debt.
Mhm.
There's this thing called debt suppression, right? If you can suppress the balance on your debt, lower that balance a day, a week, a month, you're going to save interest, right? The bank charges interest every day against the balance. So you're going to save more interest than you could ever make in interest in your checking account. Right.
Mhm.
So some of the concepts that we teach, it's pretty high level thinking. It's different. People
Yeah,
don't,
no, it is. When you taught me, I was like, whoa, I'd never heard that before. And I'd been in the financial world. Yeah, it was really interesting.
Yeah, so those are the types of things that we think about, like how do we make an impact with people's greatest assets? And we've been teaching that to thousands of people, tens of thousands of people, and now we work with big companies like Halliburton and Intermountain Healthcare with their employee wellness,
Mhm.
financial wellness programs, and so it's been again, it's been a blast to be able to see that the impact that we're having.
Where can people find out more about 101 or maybe, even read some resources about, how to work with you?
Yeah, the easiest is to go to our website, 101financial.com, 101financial.com, or they can even message me. I'm more active on Instagram than Facebook. So Alan, ALAN underscore Akina. You can DM me there. I'll send you some information.
Okay, cool. Yeah. It is amazing. I know when you taught it to me a long, long time ago, back when you're first starting, and it's a
Mm.
different way of looking at the way you manage your money. I used to think I needed to have like lots and lots of money in my checking accounts. And you taught me, Thomas, sitting a checking account, like the bank is really happy with you, but it's not helping you. And then repositioning that money, even if it's short term. I don't have a lot of debt. I mean, I've got a little bit of a mortgage just because it's at, like 2% or 2.25%, but repositioning it in other ways and then really getting it into assets where you can start using it where you get great returns. And you've done that incredibly well. You've got lots of properties and invested in equities and all sorts of really great stuff and created a lot of wealth. Now you have a new company and it's called TeamUp. Uh, Tell us how this idea came. You already had a successful company; it's still going and strong. But you said, "All right, I got another idea," and tell us how that came up and what TeamUp does.
So this is sort of an extension of what I've been doing for the last 21 years at 101. And I've taken my two worlds, which is personal finance and banking
Mhm.
strategies and things of that sort, and then merged that to what I was experiencing in life as a former college athlete. And then my three oldest kids are all college athletes. And I was watching what they were doing, right? Our oldest son, Keanu, is on the golf team at BYU. He's also at the Marriott School of Business there. My second oldest son, Kavika, is at the Stern School of Business at New York University and on the basketball team there. And then our daughter, our third oldest, Kiani, played rugby at Harvard for the last couple of years, and she's an environmental science, public policy major. So when they were in sports and playing, there's two things that I was looking at. Number one is, gosh, how do I get them their own credit card so they don't use mine, right? And we can help build their credit value. And number two, how are their schools handling their travel per diem? And gosh, it just blew me away. And this was during the pandemic. So I was at home, I wasn't traveling, so my mind was able to work. Like, how
Mhm.
can I solve this problem? Right.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
kids can't get a card. And if my kids can't get a card, and this is my profession, how
yeah,
hard is it going to be for everybody else?
yeah.
Right. So can I solve that problem? And number two, gosh, these kids, I mean, these coaches and programs, big universities are still using cash.
Yeah.
They're giving cash in envelopes, and first off, kids don't like cash anymore, right? My daughter is thinking, it's like, ew, dad, it's so dirty. Everybody touches it, right? And then businesses weren't taking cash because it was COVID. So like, why are we still doing this? So
Yeah.
I went to work and put a company together. We raised a pre-seed round pretty quickly, built the company, built the technology. So now we have this really cool new FinTech. It's a FinTech and EdTech where we provide financial education to athletic departments at universities and their student athletes. And then we provide financial tools that can benefit the athlete and tools that benefit the athletic department. So we provide a credit builder program for the athletes where they can build credit without going into debt
Hmm.
and without having to get a credit check. Like we overcame that
Yeah,
challenge, giving them a
yeah,
credit builder card without doing credit checks. And at the same time, giving these athletic departments a dashboard where they can digitize the travel per diem and do things that would take 4 hours. They
yeah,
can do 2 minutes and
yeah.
then all compliant. So it's really what we've done is innovated on the banking industry for that particular segment of the market that hasn't had any innovation done for
Yeah, no,
them.
it's an incredible idea. I remember getting out of college and not having credit, and my father, who was deceased like many years before, was killed in the Vietnam War, like
Mhm.
many years before, like 20 years before I got out of college, and I can't get a credit card. And now I'm in the financial industry. I got hired. I got no money. And I wanted to have a credit card to at least, like, buy a nicer suit and things like that. And so this one of those little mailers comes in and, to the house, and it said, Thomas W. McCarthy, which was my father's W. I'm Thomas G. McCarthy. And so I just crossed out the W and I filled it in. And I get this credit card that I couldn't have gotten because I had no credit. I got this credit card, and I think I probably had like $5,000 on it or whatever. But it got me a start. It got me a start. You have a program where kids in college can get a card, and there's no risk of them going in the hole because you've set it up, this unique system where it really it it acts somewhat like a debit card, but it creates a credit that will increase your credit, right? And so it's incredible. That alone is just so fascinating, the way that you engineered that. Because I remember even my kids getting out of college, and they were both athletes, and they had per diems coming every month that could have been getting them credit, but they got out of college no credit, right? Dad had to co-sign on me, had to co-sign on
Yep.
their car loans or their car leases. They go rent an apartment. I got to go co-sign because they didn't have credit, but now problem solved. And then the other thing that you add to it with TeamUp, which I really like, is the whole education piece, because that's the other thing I didn't have. I didn't grow up with a lot of money. I wasn't educated around finances. I got out and I had to figure it out, make some mistakes, blow money that I shouldn't have been blowing, and then get to a point where I could, finally have it figured out. But these kids are going to be able to learn about how to really manage their money in a way that can create wealth. And now you look at these athletes, they've got the NIL money, some of them do, where they can start creating wealth very, very early from what they're doing. So I love that aspect of it too.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity, and it's again, it's a lot of fun for me because it combines my two worlds, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Finance, sports, and college sports. I love both of them, so I'm looking forward to the future of it, and we're gonna do some big things, and we're getting some traction, and and to see the credit scores come back for some of these athletes and how excited they are to get their
Yeah.
first credit scores. Gosh, they're going to be so much further ahead than we ever were, right?
Yeah.
And it's just continuing on with the mission that I've been on, and then opportunities pop up, right? When you put yourself in situations and your mind is right, these opportunities come to you like a TeamUp came to me, and
Yeah.
been very blessed for it.
That's awesome. And then, I think also your plan is to expand it beyond just athletes eventually too, where all sorts of people will be able to build credit and really have the financial education that will make them more successful. So I'm
Yeah,
excited.
I was just meeting with the NFL agent
Mhm.
yesterday. I
Yeah.
had lunch with them, and they were interested in learning about TeamUp. So I showed them the TeamUp pitch deck, and the first thing that came was like, how can I get this from my daughter,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
does she have to be an athlete? Because this is such a great thing. Like, we built probably the safest and most securest credit builder card for an 18, 19, 20-year-old, and you saw that, right? So
Yeah.
um, yeah, I'm very excited about the potential of the company.
Yeah. So let's switch gears for a minute. Let's talk about parenting. You've got 7 kids. You're an amazing dad. Your wife Leanne's an amazing mom. What's your philosophy on parenting? Because you've done such a great job with the kids. They really are a family. They love each other. They care about each other. Not to say there's probably not little arguments or fights, at times. I mean, I know that was my family growing up. Like there wasn't a fight. Hey, what's going on? Why isn't anybody mad at somebody today? Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
so yeah, it's great. We got a very unique, diverse family with the 7 kids, and they were all different in their own way, but then they also have a lot of similarities. So, like any parent, my wife and I, Leanne, we didn't know. I mean, how do you know how to be a parent, right? Except for what you learn. So we're fortunate to have good parents, and we took what we learned from them, and then we just came together as a couple and decided we just want to raise a happy family. We want our kids to be happy. We're going to try to raise them as best as we can, love them. We're going to care for them and obviously support them and do things that we think would benefit them, like taking them to church,
Mhm.
spending time together as a family. We have this thing called Friday night family pizza night that we learned from another
Mhm.
family when we were younger, and then we set expectations for our kids and challenge them when they were younger. Like,
Mhm.
we would do things like, hey, where do you want to go to college when you go up? Or, hey, what do you want to be? Right? Oh yeah, you could do that. You'd be great at that. Babby, you'd be good at that. Hey, Keanu, you ever thought about going to Harvard too? Right? Like,
Yeah.
you could do that, right? And then we put him, so we would do these little things, and we didn't know we were doing it, but we just were kind of doing it
Yeah.
as growing up. And then and then I remember one year we went to go visit Tommy, your son, at Harvard, right? We wanted to go. He was playing basketball there, and he's good buddies with my 2 oldest boys. So it
Mhm.
was more for them to go see Tommy. Let's go
Yeah.
visit. We were in New York, and we went to Boston, and my 2 older boys were hanging out with Tommy. They went to his dorm room and hung out. Went to his Swahili class. They took some Swahili class, right? The boys were there, and I think that was good for them. But you know what really happened on that trip is my daughters. My daughters, Kiani and Keely, saw that. Now, they
Mhm.
didn't get to go to the dorm.
Mhm.
They didn't get to go to a class, but we walked around the campus and had lunch with Tommy and ice cream at JP Licks and all that stuff. But as a youngster, right? They were young. I think Kiani was probably 10.
Mm.
Keely was 6,
Yeah.
somewhere down there. They saw Harvard, right?
Yeah.
Saw that, and guess what happened? Now, my oldest daughter, Kiani, was actually just walking out the door.
Yeah.
She's at Harvard.
Yeah.
She's going
Yeah.
into Harvard. And then my daughter, Keely, wants to go to Harvard. Her goal is to go to Harvard. Like,
Yeah.
I really believe, like, if you see it, like, if you put your kids in a position where they can see things,
Yeah.
especially if they know people there, then gosh, it does something to them mentally,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it ingrained in them. So I'm very thankful to Tommy for letting us spend some time with him at Harvard, because what it did for my kids, especially my 2 girls, like it's just unbelievable to have a girl from Kahuku Elementary School, our small town on the North Shore, at Harvard.
Yeah. Or,
Unbelievable.
and then her dad, who, you probably never even thought about going to Harvard, right? I mean, I didn't even think about going to Harvard. So,
No, there was no way. I mean, I know my other son Kavika was getting recruited by MIT, and I was
yeah.
like, look at Harvard, MIT, and I was like, man, kids, I couldn't even spell MIT when I was growing up. So I don't know how we would do this, right? So
Yeah, that's incredible. So incredible. But a lot of it really has come from your growth mindset. They've seen you go big, and they're probably the same three words they're probably asking: why not me? Why not me at Harvard? Why not me at NYU? Why not me? You've got a son that is one of the highest rated recruits for college golf, and probably going to play pro golf. But why not me? Like, you burst the bubble for everybody, where there's just like, why not me? And you've not just done it from your family. Everyone in your company at 101 thrives on that, and they're creating their own stories and bursting their own bubbles, and now their children are seeing it. So it's been amazing to watch you over all these years. If you could give people one piece of advice on how to go from where they are now to where they want to be, even if it's a huge, huge leap for them, what would it be?
You know, I think it's very simple, actually. It's not complicated. Last night, I had a Christmas party here at our house with some of our folks from the company, and they brought their families, their kids. So we had all these kids around the tree, and Uncle Alan was giving out, presents, right?
Yeah.
And doing this drawing. All the kids were excited, and I said, "Hey, kids, at the end, my thing that I shared with them was this," and I made them repeat. I said, "These are some keys to success." And I said, "See it, believe it, achieve it." And I said, "Babby, come here, my little 7-year-old." We repeat that all the time. So I'm like, okay, I had all these kids. Okay, kids,
Yeah.
see it. What is see it? See it, and we learned this from Uncle Tom McCarthy. See it is imagine it. Imagine this, right?
Yeah.
Then you start to believe it
Hmm.
inside of your heart and your head. And then when you believe it, you will achieve it. And so we started singing, see it, believe it, achieve it. Okay, do it again. See it, believe it, achieve it. I had all the kids just yelling it out loud, and it was the best thing, but it's so simple.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not rocket science when it comes to the formula for success. Is that see it, believe it, achieve it, and then you go do it. Right, Babby? What did I teach you? Come here, Babby. Remember this? This is my daughter, Babby. Do you mind if I bring Babby on?
Yeah. Bring her on. Yeah. No, no,
So
no.
Babby's 7-year-old, and what do we say, Babby?
Yep, believe it, achieve it.
That's right, Babby. Great job, honey.
Yes.
Good to see you again. Yeah, no, that's amazing. Well, the one thing, like the outer, the outer circumstances of our world, each of our worlds is different. The one thing where we all have a level playing field is inside, in our subconscious mind, in our imagination. And that's where, Einstein said, your imagination is more important than knowledge, because knowledge is based upon what you already know, what everyone else already knows, what's been created right now. You can read about it, you can learn about it, but you can't read about someone's imagination, because the imagination's off into the future. The imagination, or unfortunately, it could be back in the past. You could be imagining the same old stuff over and over again. But the wonderful thing with imagination is the imagination knows no boundaries. You can be a young guy with not much in terms of resources, and imagining yourself in a much better place. And if you make that real enough and you believe it and you feel it, then your subconscious mind is going to figure out a way. The reason it doesn't happen for people, because like, oh, I've tried that before. Well, they tried it, right? They tried it. They imagined it for a minute, or, a day or a week, and then they ran into a little obstacle, and then they went right back. They didn't allow themselves to go through that, have their imagination continue on, and go, hey, even though this happened, I still see this, I still feel it, I still believe it. And then you achieve it. And so what I've found is that the thing that needs to be in place before you start to see it in the outside world. Because one of my beliefs is everything's created twice, first in your imagination, then in the outside world. Is in your imagination, the goal should be that you want whatever this future state that you are desiring to feel natural. If it feels like, okay, I'm way over here and I want this thing way over there, that it's not going to happen, right? You've got to, with your imagination, draw yourself to that place with such intensity and such, and when I say intense, it's not like this, but just with the beauty of it and the coolness of it and just the greatness of it and all the impact it's going to have on everyone around you and your purpose. When you get to that point where it feels natural, that's when you see the breakthrough happen. And most people they're imagining, but they're so still separate from it. They want to allow themselves that, why not me? Why not me? Why can't I be there right now? They're still like, oh, it'd be really nice. I can kind of see it, but it's still way out in the future. You can't get there from here. You've got to bring yourself forward to it in the mind, and then the mind will make it happen. It'll guide you to take the right action, to meet the right person, to make the phone call, or sometimes it just creates opportunities that are unbelievable, which I know you've probably had many of those happen in your life, where somebody came into your life that was exactly what you needed, or, the exact resources came that you needed. So, yeah.
Happened many times, many,
Yeah.
many, many times. I see it clearly. And I think one thing, Tom, piggybacking on what you said, is that people stop too early. They
Yeah.
imagine it, but then in their minds, like, I can't do that, right? So the negative side starts to win over the positive, the imagination, and so they give up too early. But you got to fight that negative off
Yeah.
to let your imagination grow and grow and grow and get bigger and bigger and bigger. So it takes a little bit of time, but they stop too early, just like anything. And so I mean, I love what you said, right? Things are created twice. I know you say that over and over again, right? First in your mind and then in reality. And I believe that. And that's why I've kind of continued that on with my kids, right? See it, believe it, achieve it, right? And I hope they pick up on that stuff and they take things further than I have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's my goal with my kids too. And you said something really profound, and we'll kind of end on this, and then I'll have you maybe wrap it up. But I do believe people quit too early, and they don't. It's not that they're quitting on the outside too early; they're quitting on the inside too early. Because sometimes they stay in whatever job they're in, but they've already quit on the inside, or they stay even in a relationship. Uh, and they've quit on the relationship, but they stay in it, versus like imagining that relationship becoming better and more vibrant and really improving who you are when you show up in that relationship. And I remember when I was called a stockbroker. I was in the financial industry, my first job, and it was really hard. Like, I had no experience. I was the youngest they ever hired. This firm was a really old firm. I was the youngest they ever hired. I had no clients. I didn't, I was right out of school. Everyone else had some sales experience. They probably came from families with some money. And so it was really hard for me. I was so stressed out and I was working so hard. And I remember a guy told me, and I was worried, like, can I do this? Can I actually be successful, make this happen? And a guy told me, he said, most people, he was an older guy in the industry, he said, most people quit right before they're going to succeed. And I made a decision. I'm not going to be one of those people that quits right before you're going to succeed. Like, whatever happens, however hard it's going to be, I'm going to go through there, because I know that if I continue on and I can envision what I really want, I'll get there. And that first probably 6, 7 months was really, really hard. Like, every day I had to get myself back in the saddle. But then by the end of the year, I was one of the top out of the new people, and I was the youngest by far, like probably 8 years younger than the next new hire. I finished, I think, number 2 for all the new hires in the entire company, and accounts opened. And then by the second year, I was one of the top advisors in the entire company, was winning all these trips. And then third year, and then I decided, hey, I want to go do something different. But I left because I wanted to go work with Tony Robbins, not because, I couldn't make it. But the reason I made it, I'm not anything great. It's just like that person told me most people are going to quit right before they're going to succeed. And I'm like, not me. Okay. That's one thing that won't happen. I will continue to work and take the hits and keep coming back with a great attitude, or the best attitude I can bring myself in with. And I'm going to find a way to win. And finding a way to win has become my catchphrase. Like, I'm always going to find a way to win. Yeah. So leave
I
us with
remember you said something to me, Tom, early on. I mean, not to me, but
yeah,
on stage. I heard you say this when I was in my 20s. You said, frustration is the step before breakthrough.
yeah, yeah,
So when you're feeling frustrated, that's the step before you actually are going to break through. That's why you're frustrated.
yeah, yeah,
And I that stuck with me since my 20s.
yeah.
Like, still remember those things you said on a stage at a conference.
Yeah. Well, I actually learned that one from Tony, because I taught part of his master university just as a friend, not back when I was working with him, but later on, he asked me to come and take over part of the role for that he was doing in it, and he was going to focus on other things. And one of the things we would say is when someone said, "I'm confused," like someone would write, "And I'm a little confused," and we get 3,000 people. She's confused. Give her a big hand, right? Because when you're confused, and again, this is ways of reframing things. When you're confused, we said you're about to learn something, right? You're confused. The brain's like not quite sure, but the brain
Right.
now is going to learn something. And when you're frustrated, it means you're about to have a breakthrough, because the brain's like picked up this, it's picked up this, it's picked up this. It hasn't quite made it yet, but like one more distinction, maybe two or three more distinctions, and all of a sudden a breakthrough. And those, thank you for, I haven't thought about that in a long time, but those are just ways of thinking, right? Those are just ways of up leveling your thinking versus saying confusion is a negative emotion, frustration is a negative emotion. What we did in these big seminars is we just reframed it, because we knew people were going to have those emotions. And normally when you get confused, what do? You quit. Or normally when you get frustrated, what do? You quit. Now it's like, yeah, I'm frustrated. Let's go. I'm about to have a breakthrough, which is just a way of again, up leveling your thinking. Give us one more gem to end on. Like if you had a wish, and we're around the holidays now, if you had a wish for everybody on the planet that would enable them to, I don't know, become who they really could be, what would that wish be for you?
I just wish that they would believe in themselves more. Like,
Mm,
you can do it. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't matter, where you start out in life.
yeah,
It matters where you finish.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
We all come from different backgrounds. I mean, I know your background really well. Look at what you've done, your family, and I've seen so many others and it's about finishing the race, not where you start the race. But I also, now as I'm older, it's about enjoying the race, the journey of the race,
yeah,
and the experiences that you get along the way. Because sometimes we get caught up. In my earlier years, I just would work so hard, and you kind of like, forget about things, or maybe relationships along the
yeah,
way. But now I'm older, it's like I try to enjoy those relationships, and then the memories that we have of what we've done, and try to enjoy life, right? And just
yeah,
enjoy the journey, enjoy the race. Set your sights to, that finish line. Make it a big finish line,
yeah,
right? If we're
yeah,
gonna do this thing, let's do it big, right? If
yeah. Love
we're
it.
gonna live life, let's go. Let's do it big, and then enjoy it at the same time. And so I have a personal philosophy that I'll leave you guys with. And my philosophy is this: if I'm gonna do something, there has to be two things. Number one, it has to be big. I want to do something big, and number two, I want to have fun.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
simple.
Yeah,
Let's go big, and we're going to shoot for it. We may not get there, but you know what? We may. We may hit it.
yeah,
Right? It may happen, and so, and then let's have fun along the way. Let's enjoy the journey. Let's enjoy the ride, and I again, as I'm older, I'm enjoying the ride with the new business I'm building, and I'm enjoying the ride with seeing my kids and what they're doing. I actually get, I'm not happy, but I'm thankful when they fail. Maybe they don't win a tournament, or they do so well, right? I'm like, you know what? That's good. That's just gonna make you tougher. Instead of like, oh, dang it, honey, I'm so sorry you didn't win.
Yeah.
You know, hey buddy, hey, great job. You went for it. Great job. This is part of the process. This is a part of the process.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing it, and I'm seeing some of the, seeing the results of what's happened. Just on Monday, my two golfer sons were hanging out with a multi-billionaire and a NBA legend on a private jet going to play golf, and then catching an NBA game, right? Like who hangs out with these, what billionaires hang out with teenagers, right? And go to a game, go play golf, right? It's just a mindset.
Well, and I love, I just want to pile on top of that one more comment, and that is your kids are going to fail. Like, my kids, like you want them ideally to be, well, I don't think it would be ideal, but you as a parent, you kind of want them to be, do really well and be the star and win all the time. And it's not reality. Even the people we look at that we think are winning all the time, like the LeBrons or LeBron James, people like that. I mean, his son, Bronny, just had a heart condition like a couple months ago, like the scariest thing you could have as a parent. Now he's back, but those type things are going to happen. My son, Tommy, probably one of his biggest setbacks was his health as a basketball player, and where he had crippling back pain and nothing was working. And now he has a business that he started out of it. And he had some lady that literally 16 years of back pain gone. Another lady, 6 years of back pain gone. That happened though, because my son was knocked to his knees with crippling back pain and figured out a way to use your mind to actually to get rid of back pain. Even though my son had a large herniated disc, he has no back pain. He's had no back pain for 4 years. But I remember being with him when he was in that situation, and it was like tough on me, tough on him, but now he's got this thriving business out of it. So these adversities that our kids go through, the ones we go through, the reason I do what I do is because I didn't have the ideal childhood, and I read books, and I was trying, just like you, trying to figure out like, how the heck can I grow into a lifestyle and a person that I really want to be when I don't have the means right now to do it. But that's how greatness is created. You are an amazing human being. I love you so much. Love your family. Thanks so much for being on with us. I really do appreciate it. And I know a lot of people are going to benefit from this interview. Thank you so much, Alan.
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate you. Love you.
Yeah. And all of you listening to the Breakthrough Code Show podcast, please let your friends know. If you like these episodes, please subscribe. If you're on YouTube or Apple or Spotify, subscribe so you can see more of this. And always, we'd love to hear from you. So please tell us your stories, and we love to hear your breakthroughs. So you can do that at podcast@thebreakthroughcode.com. Thanks so much, and we'll see you on the next episode.